So thank you so much for coming out today, trekking the trolley traffic to be with us at DIB. This is our fifth, i4NS showcase, and I cannot be more thrilled and proud of everybody that's here. I think this is probably the largest crowd we've had in a minute. I think we have about 125, 130 people sign up, and so you're all here, so amazing crowd. Thank you so much for coming out. I actually wrote something today. Let me see, which one I'll not read because it's going to take too much time. But first, I want to thank each of you, especially the supporters, but I always forget this. I want to do this first. Thank you for my teaching assistants. If you want to come stand up. Is Hannah outside? Should you ask her to come here real quick? So this kind of class, we have up to 30 students, undergraduate, graduates, diverse major. It's very difficult for one person, let alone 3 people to do. So, but I've been very fortunate. I've had a fantastic TA in Kristen, Giselle, and Hannah. And by the way, they're all graduates of i4NS, which is requirements. So thank you so much for hard work. It's been a tremendous quarter, but you know, and then I also want to ask Paul to come up real quick. So I started this class, this course, 5 years ago in a small conference room in Qualcomm Institute in Atkinson Hall. I think it held maybe 10 people, and it was 2 teams and 8 students with problem statements from various people that I happen to know. Pretty scrappy, and how I did it, because Paul Robin let me do it. He's the Associate Vice Chancellor for Office of Innovation and Commercialization, and that's what made it magic, right? Paul's been my top cover, my supporter, carte blanche giver. So thank you, Paul Robin. I mean, real Paul in the heart. So I'm gonna do this.
Thanks, Rachel. You're the one who built this. It's fantastic. So I'm just here to welcome people. So welcome. And thank you also. Particularly thank you to our partners and mentors and sponsors and problem people and everybody else. I mean, these programs only work because we have that engagement with all of you in the community. So thank you all for giving your time to do that. And thanks for all the students. For these amazing projects that you put together. I'm looking forward to seeing everything, so that'll be amazing. I just wanted to say this, that there's such a huge opportunity here. The more that we get academia and industry and the DoD, military, national security complex, whatever you want to call it, engaging to develop both the talent of the workforce and the technologies, the better off we'll all be, right? It is a win-win for everybody. I mean, that we can be the source for the talent that is going to help the DoD remain competitive in this very, very fast-changing and ever-competitive world. But it's also a massive opportunity for all of these students out there, and it's not yet fully recognized. The opportunities that national security actually present for everybody, for incredible careers. That's partly what this program is about, is to sort of raise awareness for all of the things you can do out there. It's really amazing. Whether you actually take careers in the DoD itself, or whether you go into private industry servicing the needs of the DoD, the opportunities there are huge to understand how it works, who the people are, what the color of money is, and all that kind of stuff. It provides you with huge opportunities, throughout your career, whether you're going in, as I said, directly into it, or you're doing dual use. So we're really delighted. I wanted to thank Rachel for having built up this program. We started it 5 or 6 years ago. Got off to a bit of a rocky start until we got Rachel on board, and now it's one of the top programs in the country. And we're expanding it even more now, just so you all know. We're going to be launching this thing called Forge very soon. We've kind of launched it already, but one of these days we'll decide to do it, actually really launch this thing, which will be a workforce development based very much around i4NS. A technology transition, helping to accelerate the transition of technologies from very low TRL up into scalable type TRL levels, and the ecosystem bit, which Scott at the back there and Rachel have really worked hard at this in developing the DICE Alliance. Is one of the pillars of that. If we can get all of these 3 things working together, the opportunity for San Diego is enormous. There is more upside in national security for San Diego, given all of the talent, the resources, the military assets, the veterans and everything that we have here. San Diego should be the place driving national security, innovation, and workforce development for the nation, if not for the world, right? If we can't do it, nobody can do it. So this is what we're doing here. This is what Rachel's doing. We're trying to bring this all together, bring the entire ecosystem together around it and take us to the next level. I think there's more upside for this than there ever was for life sciences, which is what San Diego is known for, if we can get this right over the next 10 years. So that's my plug.
Thank you.
And, welcome to everybody. Delighted you're all here. I'm looking forward to the presentation. So thanks.
And again, this type of event will not happen without the people in the back making it happen for us. So Tammy and I've been working for several years now. She made this part happen. So please make sure you thank her later. And Doug, who's working very hard right now, trying to get a live stream going. And then the sponsors, if you could raise your hand from NIWC sponsors who sponsored our project this quarter. Thank you so much for allowing our students to go beyond what they're used to in comfort zone. And then, of course, Lizel, thanks so much for taking care of the operation part. And then mentors. I think you got Jim and Oscar here. I think I saw Oscar's again. So thank you both of you for being amazing support for our teams. So, are we ready to start the panel? Guys, panel, good? Is this going to be good? You probably want to show the like dish, those guys, they're calling in.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I'd like to introduce you to alumni. They'll introduce themselves and then talk about how they came to i4NS, what they got out of it, and what they're doing now. It's going to be kind of like a free association type thing, quite a question. But we have Austin, we have Madison, and online we're going to have Vishnu and Diana and possibly Erica. So as you can imagine, they're all over the world. I think Vishnu is in some undisclosed location. And then Diana is calling in from Virginia, and then Erica's in London. So this is kind of gives you a flavor of what we are. And yeah, so let's see. I guess we could start with Madison and Austin while we wait for that.
Hi everyone, I'm Madison. I'm from Rachel's first cohort. How I found out I got really lucky finding out about this and ran applying. It was the last day to apply, and it was the best happy accident I've ever had. It gave me the life I have now after completing this program. I went on to get a master's. I worked at General Atomics for a few years and moved on over to Northrop. It taught me a lot about leadership and really helped get me out of my shell. It's really hard to break that space between academia and industry, and I think this really is a good melting pot for doing that, and it's a really great experience if you give it your all. So yeah, obviously a lot of you have done it. If you haven't done it and you're supporting a friend, maybe you do it next time. It's really great, and yeah, it opens a lot of opportunities for you. Stay in contact with your mentors. I'm still in contact with Rich. We got together about a month ago. So yeah, just take advantage of it when you can.
So hi, I'm Austin. Similar background. I kind of came across this by chance back in, I think 2022 is when I was an actual student. And then for a year almost after that, I was the TA for the program. I think one of the first TAs at UCSD for the program. And my time here, and I was telling some folks around the crowd earlier, I learned a lot about how to work with stakeholders, how to work with the customer, actually listening to what their needs are and not what you think they would want. And taking that experience with my degree from the university, I got, we both work at Northrop now. And now I get to work on the country's next fighter jet. So this program, if you use what you learn correctly and apply it well, you can get pretty far with the stuff you learn here. So if you have any, if you have any questions for any of us about how we got to where we are, I'm sure I'm comfortable with us. Feel free to ask. how to use what you learned, the skills you have here, and how they apply to an actual career in the future. Yeah.
If you could unmute Vish and Diana, see if they want to say a few words.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys can see me. Oh, it looks like you can. So yes, I am in Virginia currently. It is 8 p.m., so forgive me if you hear my stomach rumbling or anything. I was an intern, was it the spring of 24, and then I returned as a TA for the 2 cohorts after that. So it was interesting seeing both sides of it. It's very strong, I think, leadership team, and then every student, every intern that I've met deserved to be there. And being somebody who kind of similar to Madison and Austin, who was an intern and then kind of like transitioned into a different part of my professional life. And it feels weird saying that because I graduated in June. So it feels like it hasn't been so long, but it's felt so long anyways. There are so many things from i4NS that I still use at work. And like I brought up like the value prop chart and MMC to people that I've had meetings with. And I'm like, hey, look at this and how cool it is. And I've presented it to customers. So if you're looking for a career that's like not, I like to call it like hands on keyboards all the time, like kind of like in the mix a little bit, where you have to interact with people and like explain business value sometimes. I think i4NS is definitely where you want to be. And you guys are at the end of it now, so congratulations. Also, I've already met some of you, so I'm glad to see the rest of you now.
Vish? Oh, is that right?
Yeah, sorry, I am traveling at the moment. I was in the same cohort and group actually as Diana, so that would have been spring of 2024. And I think like pretty much everyone else, it was a very chance encounter where I, happened to just see the program in a catalog, did a very, very minimal research and, would not change it for the world. Currently, I work at a FFRDC, which is like a federally funded think tank. Most of my work is a bit different. I work on radar systems for navigation mostly. And I think the biggest takeaway that I had from the program as a whole was more than just anything tangible. It was more of a mindset shift. I'm sure you guys have seen, throughout the interview process and creating your MVPs and the entire flow. It's definitely changed the way you interact with certain people and how you think about problems, and carrying that into my professional career has definitely helped me advance at a much quicker rate than I think a lot of other people who weren't able to have this opportunity did. So, don't take it for granted and please use every resource that you have.
So I guess for Vish and Diana and Madison and Austin, maybe talk about what was your first interview like post-college and how that went.
I want to say it went like really well because that's going to sound conceited, but it made it so much easier to talk to people. It felt very fluid. It really helped me get more conversational with the interviewers instead of just being like, just answering their questions, really short answers, and making it feel like work. It felt enjoyable. You really want to get to know these people more than on a work level. These are you going to work with. You want to know if they're ambitious, if your personality will fit in here, if your goals. And it really helped me see beyond just the initial, like just getting through the interview to get the job. Because you need to see if the job's right for you, not just, like everyone wants to, ace an interview, but sometimes it's not a good fit. And that's fine, but you just really need to use the skills that you've learned from these interviews and really understand what it means for you going forward.
Kind of echoing the same ideas. It's important to know the team that you're joining, and communication skills and stuff. I'm talking with the customers here kind of help me play a role in that, because I wasn't the best at communicating before this program. Plus being a TA kind of helped a lot in that too. But how many here are engineering background of any kind? Engineering over here, we got some folks over here. So I'll be the first to say that engineers aren't the best communicators in general. And I think having the experience from this program during my interview helped me show that I'm not just a person stuck behind a keyboard, like she was mentioning earlier. We have the skills to communicate with our customers and actually understand why we're doing what we're doing. And I think that's the biggest thing that I got from this program. Yeah. Dan?
Well, the first couple ones went great, but the one that I want to focus on is the one that led me to the job that I have now at Red Hat. The first part of it was a technical presentation, but it was interesting because it was exactly what we were already doing at i4NS, taking like a technical problem and then explaining it to people who were acting as stakeholders. So everything that we learned in i4NS, like explaining or asking what their pain points are, explaining something technical in a way that is digestible for somebody who might not be the one that is behind the keyboard, you know. That really helped, and that's what I was told as my feedback after I passed that first interview and then eventually got the job. And on the job, I'm doing everything that you guys are doing or were doing in the internship.
Yeah, same. Again, it's going to be kind of the same information for me. I'm sure everyone's heard, you know, the best defense is a good offense. You know, whether or not that's true is kind of up for debate. But getting to be on the other side of that, where you are the one conducting interviews and making those questions and forcing people to think about those things, really comes across well, at least in my experience, to future employees that, okay, you're not just going to be clocking in and clocking out, you're contributing something meaningful and something beyond the basics. And, you know, as long as you carry yourself and the experience that you've had, that comes across very well, and that's a game changer because honestly, a lot of people maybe find that out a little bit later after they've passed, you know, the first job after college. So getting the jump on it, I think, is really what helped me and accelerate that process.
So, these last word from each of you, what the students should be thinking about post-class and maybe after graduation?
I would say just, especially like a night like tonight, take advantage of all the networking that you can. And I don't want to speak for Austin, but I'm sure same thing, I speak for him. We'd be happy to connect with you on LinkedIn and help you get any internships that you want or jobs at Northrop. I still have some connections at General Atomics. I mean, this whole community is about, you know, getting to know one another and helping one another out. So really just take advantage of that. You guys are gonna have an edge, like already having been a little bit in the industry, you're gonna be a little bit more mature possibly than some of the other candidates who don't know what it's like and are coming straight out of school. You're gonna handle yourself like much more well, much better. And yeah, your interviews, you know that you need to research beforehand and really get to know your problem set, or in this case, the company that you're working for. And so you're going to go into those interviews and you're going to ace them. So really take everything you've learned and apply it to that process so that you can be as successful as you can in the job market. Because it's not the best, but you can make the most of it with the resources you have available to you right now.
The only thing to that I have to add is all of you made it this far to the end of this program, and it's not an easy program on top of the schoolwork and everything you have going on at UCS. It's not easy to get it. So congratulations to everyone that got here. And I don't know many of you, but I know that if you made it this far, that you can be successful in your career. And you will get something good right out of college, basically. So again, if you need help from anyone here, we're happy to help you. We know that you got this far. Again, we know you can be successful, and I'm sure any of us would be happy to put your name out there, however we can.
Diana, Bish?
Yeah, I think it sounds like Vish, you're also, I don't know why I'm calling you Vish, I call you Vishnu. You're also working in like the public sector space. I'm also currently working in the public sector space, and I can tell you, especially those who went to the C4I Star Symposium, Josh, Mills, and Jamie were like beaming with like compliments about whoever went. They could not stop talking about you guys. So there is definitely a demand for students, especially out of college, and also specifically at Red Hat, who have experience like working with DoD professionals and have like a technical background or some ability to convey technical information. So if you're feeling nervous about like career choices after college or after this program, be more optimistic because there are opportunities. And I think the networking that i4NS is kind of like laying down for you is a great way to get started on that. So kind of like echoing what they've already said, reach out. I've already called with some of you guys. I found out that I can give referrals this early on in my job. So just saying, just reach out, and we're happy to help.
Yeah, I think there's really nothing I can say to add on to that. Everyone else has captured it perfectly. Please just ask, and all of us are more than happy to help any way we can.
Okay, so I want to open up for like maybe 2 questions from the audience, from students especially. Any question for the alumni? Let's get started, right? Okay, I was hoping Brett was here. So if you've not met Brett Goldsmith, he's the person responsible for the problem statements that we received this quarter. So the method of my madness was that there was so much demand signal coming from our warfighters about AI and machine learning, autonomy and edge. I wanted to get closer working relationship in that way. So Brett, being the university outreach guy, is he here? Okay. Was amazing to help us out. Brett, I was just talking about you. No, I'm just going to talk here real quick. You're fine. So Brett not only came and gave us the problem statements and got the researcher to, give our problem statement, which is unheard of, but we also did wargaming at the beginning of the quarter, which was really super fun. We were talking wargaming like board, like the old school stuff, and I think students got out of it. So Brett, can you say a few words about why, how this works, and
So I work for the Navy, and one of the things that we really want to do is give students an idea of what it's like to work in the defense community, why we do the work that we do, to understand, there's a lot of mission-driven, kind of really a great kind of work that can be done that maybe you don't get to see. And going through the war game exercise was great to show a lot of the students, here's what it looks like, here's how you, all the different technologies play well together. And then at the end, some of the students probably remember this, say, okay, now let's count the number of people that died. Okay, we don't really want to see this happening, so how can we avoid this, right? So it was really kind of a nice thing for us to do.
what about that outreach program?
So, yes, and then we talked about the outreach program. So I'm in the CTO's office at NIWC. We help run outreach. We have many internship programs from high school through faculty members. So we will take on high school interns, but most of what we do is a lot of college interns. So we love taking college interns to come for the summer. You have to be a US citizen, you have to be able to get a security clearance, but the benefit of that is you come through, you get a security clearance. You get to work with government folks on our projects, and then you can take those connections with you. If you combine that clearance and connections with internal people at the Navy with what we learned here, I think that's an unbeatable combination if you're out there looking for a job.
So we would love to stay connected with you, so please feel free to reach out and connect with i4NS on LinkedIn primarily, and that's where you could get information about some of the internship program that Brett talked about. We're currently working with another fantastic opportunity with the Aerospace Corporation, which is a nonprofit arm of NASA. So whatever you might want to do, get out there and go beyond your comfort zone and think about some of the roles you could potentially do and come back and be an alumni next year. Paul?
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
I wasn't ready when you asked. Could I ask
Oh, okay.
questions? I'm ready. No, you're okay. Well, 2 things. One, security clearances. I mean, can we work together to get security clearances
For the students that are going through this, I mean, you don't have to answer that now. Let's talk about it sometime.
Sounds
That's
great.
gold,
Let's,
right?
let's
I mean,
talk about it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. For the alumni, how do we make this thing better?
I think outreach. I think all of us basically said that we kind of came across this haphazardly, that we just happened upon a pamphlet or brochure, came across online. Maybe having a TA or someone on the team going into like engineering classes or poli-sci, people who are prone to join with this industry, talk to them about it, work with the UCSD social media pages and see what we can do to really grow the amount of people trying to get in here. Yeah, because some of the people who walk in haphazardly, it works out great for them, but other times it's not a great fit, and that's fine. But if we could reach more of those people who want to make the most of this experience, then I think we should be able to do that.
And I think Rachel was mentioning that we have a LinkedIn. I think it'd be good to have some sort of alumni network, just so everyone has a clear channel to communicate with successful alumni from this program. Like we're doing now, but this is like like you happen to meet us and you can connect with us now. But I think throughout the program, that'd be a good thing to have access to, if that doesn't exist.
No, great, yeah.
Diana and Bishop, any suggestions?
Yeah, just echoing what Madison said about the outreach, but also on the end of like, now that there is established presence of i4NS in certain spaces, maybe just like planting your foot even more. Like if you want to reach out to specific people, like I'm saying Josh Mills loves i4NS. So if there's something that, you know, like just like you reach out to different organizations and plant the foot for i4NS, or like those fairs that maybe the engineering communities may have, maybe have a booth for i4NS, you know, things like that.
Yeah, definitely outreach on the front end. Also, I don't know how feasible this is, but I do think the one thing that I wish was more established when I finished the program was a kind of cohesive path out of it. It seemed like the people who wanted to pursue this more kind of did that at their own direction or at their own push, reaching out to people and maintaining these relationships rather than a continuation of the program. And obviously, you know, it's not going to be for everyone post-grad and the, you know, conclusion of the class. But I think having something maybe a little more structured can kind of push it to that next step of, you know, establishing San Diego as kind of the hub, if you will, for the next 5, 10, however long-term future years.
2 years.
Also, I want to lob it over to Erica because I noticed she's on the call. I think we just missed her earlier. Erica, if you want to. Yeah, I think that's somebody we want to hear from.
Hey, Erica. Hello from San Diego. Erica's in London right now in the Internship Program. Erica, can you maybe talk about what you're doing right now post-class, some of the success you had with DIU, with you know, the summer fellowship, and I think Hannah's here to talk about that too, but you kind of go for it.
Yeah, for sure. Hi, everyone. It's nice to meet you. I'm Erica. I'm a third-year Math CS major. So yeah, right after i4NS, which was a really great catalyst to my interest in defense tech, I did a summer internship with the DoD's Defense Innovation Unit's AI/ML portfolio, which was a really great learning experience. Also, our team from the i4NS cohort applied and got into the Defense Innovation Unit's summer fellowship commercialization pathway, which was basically a startup incubator. So that was also a really cool like post i4NS opportunity that I think a lot of you can also like think about potentially of like looking into like incubators and looking into like the startup space in San Diego. I think there are a lot of great opportunities. And yeah, like after that experience, I decided to go more into like AI research. So I'm currently in London because I'm participating in Cambridge AI Safety Hub's AI Safety Research Program. So I'm really excited about that. Also going to be taking the quarter off next quarter to do a research program called MATS in Berkeley, focusing on AI security and alignment. And in the summer, I'll be interning with Palantir. So just to really highlight like how like pivotal i4NS was to that, it's really helpful to just like have this experience, just because like Diana and all the other alumni have mentioned, like it's really about the skills that you learn from this program. It's a fantastic opportunity that really teaches you how to work with unstructured problems and to produce like really creative solutions, and to also work directly with stakeholders. And I think that for me personally, and it sounds like for a lot of the alumni as well, this has been a really big catalyst to a lot of like our own personal career opportunities.
So I guess for all the alumni, you guys are offering some tips and advices and maybe potential recommendation for internship. Like Erica, you mentioned Palantir.
Oh yeah, if anyone wants a referral to Palantir, there are like full-time roles that cover like a lot more. There are like software engineering. I don't know if there's hardware, but yeah, a lot of software engineering, business, security roles. And for internships, if you're interested in like software engineering roles, feel free to reach out to me. I have access to my referral portal, so yeah, would be happy to give anyone a referral.
So another shameless plug to sign up for our i4NS LinkedIn page, and you could get in directly in contact with them. So thank you, alumni, for taking the time. Erica, Bishop, and Diana, I know it's late, and we'll see you soon when you're back. Thank you. And please give hands to alumni.
Hello. Alright guys, we're going to go on to a break, so you guys are free to continue getting food, churros. Rachel says 5-minute break, and then we will be back. So feel free to move around, do whatever you guys want to do. We'll be here.
Is it this team? Is it this one? Day by day. Upload your slide here. Oh, okay, all right.
We focus on You'll actually get a good we wanted to use some we basically created our own business. Yeah, you'll see your now we're using it. You guys are asking us.
There you go, right? There you go. Like almost everybody.
Those in the know, right? There's like a little meeting area, and there were little fences for each graduating PhD, right? That was fun. That was University
We're not in
All right, everybody. We are getting ready to get started, so if I can have everybody please take their seats. Thank you so much. All right. Okay, so our first team, please
In the
come
heart
up.
of the fleet, decisions are made in seconds, under pressure that lasts for hours. But when the mission ends, another challenge begins. For Navy operators, post-mission debriefs mean thousands of data points scattered across voice logs, systems, and memory. Insights get lost, reports take hours, and decisions shaping future missions depend on what we can piece together.
Initially, our problem was handling operators under high-stress environments using machine learning-based recommendations. Over the past 10 weeks, we've refined our problem to be a deceptively simple question. How can we enhance the Navy hogwash using large language models? From tackling information overload, rethinking UI under stress, experimenting with AR overlays, to finally building a RAG pipeline with synthetic mission logs.
We interviewed over 40 government and industry personnel over the past 10 weeks to get to where we are now. We interviewed people from commanding officers, CTO advisors, to UI/UX designers. We learned that our problem was a lot bigger than we initially thought.
Our problem statements and solutions changed drastically week by week. To get a better understanding of the problem, we took the opportunity to go to the Command, Control, Communications, Computers, Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance C4ISR Symposium. While we were there, we met with many experts in the Navy as well as ML development. At the symposium, we thought that our MVP had already been done. However, we learned from the other interviews to not take everything at face value. We took advantage of the people at the symposium to refine our solution, despite some roadblocks. As a result, we came up with our current solution, which we are going to present to you all now.
Hello everybody, welcome. We are Team Anansi, and this is our final showcase. Over the past 10 weeks and over 40 interviews, we have revised our task. How can we use LLMs to boost post-operational Navy insight? The success that we've seen over the past 10 weeks can only be achieved through an incredible team. My name is Jack Vals, and I'm an international business major.
I'm Gary Tan, I'm a computer science major.
I'm Chaitanya Danikar, I'm an international business major.
My name is Luke Shannon, I'm a data science major.
In addition, we would like to mention Mark Iverson. He works for NIWC, and he was our problem sponsor and gave us our original problem statement that got this project rolling. We would also like to mention Hannah, who was our TA, who we met with weekly and gave us insights on how to stay on track. We met with Stuart quite often, Mr. Volko, and he gave us insights on how to better our research and outreach. Just to reiterate, our final problem statement was how we could use LLMs, large language models, to boost post-operational Navy insight through after-action reports and their hot wash. But we did not get here right away. We started first by building our first mission model canvas. The first thing that we did was looked at our mission achievement, which was to reduce the cognitive workload that operators face in the field. Our key activities were building our first MVP, minimum viable product, and getting as many interviews as possible so that we could better understand our project, and of course our beneficiaries. We narrowed our beneficiaries down to two roles: the tactical action officers and the weapons controllers. They both struggle with cognitive overload and difficulty identifying threats. Our first problem statement, tackled this project initially. Our original idea was a UI-based recommendation system. As we can see here, NAVI, the Navy Adaptive Visual Interface. We applied similar Navy symbols so that it would be easier to identify threats as well as a threat detection gradient. But as we discovered more, we realized that this had already been done because the hardware on ships is not always consistent. But we did not stop there.
All right, so as we progressed, one of the things that we really wanted to focus on was we actually need to build a prototype. So that's exactly what we tried to do. And we did this by finding our data and interviewing people, getting their opinions and insights. And from there on, we honed down our key value propositions. So what that means is really focusing on moving from decision makers to actual officers in the Combat Information Center so that they'll benefit from our product because they'll have more of a streamlined information flow and know what choices to take. Moving forward, we just decided to rethink our problem through an XR lens. So how we did this was taking all these doctrines, audio logs, visual signals, and displaying them in a head-up symbol, which we call adapt, as seen in this photo.
This leads us to our third and final MMC. And so we're going to be implementing a retrieval augmented generation pipeline, or RAG pipeline for short. It's basically just a stricter LLM that doesn't hallucinate as much. And one of the first things that we need to do is label the doctrines so that we know what so that the LLM knows kind of all the Navy acronyms, what a TAO does, and all that kind of things. And next, we need to format the data properly so that the RAG pipeline knows what it's seeing and how to compare both the doctrines and the mission log. And then we need security clearance to see all of that. And so this leads us into our cost. Our cost is any cost of services, for example, cloud services or security services, API keys, laptop, and as well as the development cost for a transcription software for the recordings on the CIC, as well as the RAG pipeline. Next, we're going to deploy it or test and refine it in Mark Iverson, our problem sponsor's SDSU Innovation Lab. He said that he tried to get us a room there so that we can test it out, make sure it's secure and reliable for the Navy warships. Next, we're going to measure our success by knowing that we reduce the amount of time it takes for operators to manually do their after-action reports, as well as reduce the amount of time for them to extract insights. This leads us into our beneficiaries. Well, the beneficiaries themselves did not change. Their goals have changed to become more manual labor focused, as well as reducing the amount of time it takes for them to get insights. And our problem statement reflects this by focusing more on LLMs and after-action reports, as well as the hot wash process. And we're going to, our MVP also changed from an AR system to more of a dashboard timeline focus. This leads us into our final MVP, which is LLM Enhanced Naval Synthesis, or LENS for short. It's going to be a RAG pipeline as well as a transcription software I mentioned earlier. On a laptop, it'll work on the edge, and it'll take the recordings in the CIC, transcribe them, put it into the RAG pipeline, and the RAG pipeline will then give summaries as well as recommendations of what to do next.
So here's a closer look about MVP in depth. So first, our lens will take in ingest data that's related to the mission, whether it's voice transcription, mission logs, or chat logs, or track data. And then each action will be timestamped compared to the actual doctrine itself. We can see whether it's compliant or not. As you can see, overall, this mission only has a 66.7% compliance rate. And near the end, it tells you what happened, what mattered, and what could be improved upon. Additionally, if the operators want more specific question, they can also ask our chat bot, which basically only pull answers from the doctrine itself to make sure we reduce our hallucination and minimize wrong answers. And another element of our of a lens is you can see also previous history of missions as well, really compare and contrast what runs and see the underlying patterns. And one thing I really want to emphasize is that this is run locally without internet, and also is that we are not trying to replace any human factor in this and just trying to aid the human expertise. And to get more into it, when the mission starts, immediately after they get into an informal debriefing called a hot wash, where they mostly rely on verbal and memory dependence. And then someone would then have to reconstruct all of that manually using written notes as well as the fragmented reports. And this in turn go into ideally turn to lesson learning, which basically can cause an inconsistent and also loss of insights, and the cycle repeat over and over again. So where our lens would support this is first the mission will start, and then we began to generate data as well, collected it, turned into a usable data format where during the hot wash and especially AAR, it gave a high level overview of what happened, and also highlight any of the doctrinal deviations. And in hoping so, the lesson learned will be more consistent as well as create a better trend analysis for the future.
All right, and finally, before emphasizing how we move forward, it's important to identify some of the roadblocks that we faced. The biggest one was our gathering of our data because of the classified information that we encountered and the government shutdown. But if we were able to access this data better, we would lead to more of a smarter model overall because there would be more data to feed into the LLM and more detailed labeled doctrines. Additionally, we also experienced that all ships have a difficult hardware installation process. But if we were able to combat this, it would streamline the operator workflow overall and make the ship's consistent hardware all across the board. Finally, we want to thank Rachel, our director here at i4NS, the entire i4NS teaching team, and everyone else involved in our project. Thank you.
We'll now open up the floor to questions. If anyone has any questions for the current team. All right, you guys are good to go. Thank you so much for presenting. All right. Next up is going to be Team Lumos.
Hi, we're Team Lumos. We're working with NIWC Pacific through UC San Diego's Innovating for National Security Program. Our goal is to help Navy Ordnance Disposal teams remove underwater explosives. But first, let's introduce ourselves.
I'm Anthony, the team coordinator and researcher.
I'm Javier, lead designer and documenter.
I'm Aladdin, lead technical researcher.
I'm Bennett, and I handle our outreach and coordination.
Across the world, millions of underwater unexploded ordnance, also known in the military as UXOs, still sit on the seafloor. Right now, information about underwater UXOs is spread across different tools, reports, and agencies. Teams often have to pull location data from old logs, separate mapping systems, emails, or written notes just to understand what's in the water and where it came from.
This slows down planning, makes it harder to track hazards, and increases the chances of missing something critical during operations.
Our initial concept relied on hardware, deploying underwater acoustic markers at UXO locations so teams could reliably return to them.
But after meeting with Navy engineers, divers, and researchers, we realized that even if ordnance can be relocated, the information itself is disorganized. So we pivoted.
Our solution is a dashboard that brings everything together in one place: locations, timestamps, status, and more. This gives operators a complete view so they can quickly assess threats, plan safer routes, and make confident decisions.
By logging data directly into our dashboard, we can unify it across different Navy branches. This shared system helps identify which UXOs still need attention, track changing threat levels, and build a clearer operational picture for future missions.
We are Team Lumos, and this is our mission: to give Navy technicians a tool that unifies UXO data into one place so they can work faster, make safer decisions, and protect both our oceans and our people.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Lumos. Over the last 10 weeks, we've interviewed quite a lot of people, aiming to seek answers to the question, how can we streamline methods of UXO removal? But first, let's introduce the team. On the right is our team, is our supporters from i4NS. My name is Aladdin Helmi.
My name is Anthony Souza.
I'm Kavya Garg.
And I'm Bennett Kuo.
Around the world, UXOs pose a very real and credible risk to our oceans and sea lanes. In hot zones such as the island of Koholalale in the United States, and especially the Baltic Sea, UXOs threaten civilians, ecosystems, and especially commercial activities. Some of the risks involved include diplomatic fallouts due to accidents in contested regions, as well as, and most importantly, loss of human life, both of which result in major public backlash against the government and wasted resources. Our dashboard, which we will discuss shortly, not only negates these risks, but also allows for two separate benefits. First off, for civilians, we can reopen our sea lanes and hazardous zones, allowing for economic expansion and keeping our coastlines safe. On the other hand, for the military, we can also support our NATO partners and decrease operational risks. As you can see here, our first problem statement from groups we went through 4 was very large and complex. It almost sounds like a technology shopping list, keeping the Navy up to date with the latest 3D photogrammetry, hardware, software, LiDAR, and sonar. However, simplicity is key. As such, during week 5, we were able to use our research and interviews with experts to condense our problem statement into a much simpler question, which reads, how can we streamline an approach to identifying UXOs in shallow water?
Our first concept for addressing the problem was a modular sensor system. This would incorporate hot-swappable sensors across LiDAR, sonar, and optical technologies in a portable form factor, which would keep costs down and enable wide surveying across application areas. This was our first mission model canvas for that. We heavily relied on commercial off-the-shelf components to help keep costs down. We also focused quite heavily on dual use. Pay close attention to Morgan Fox, the Navy EOD officer, and Alex Smith, the marine environmental scientist. We'll be keeping them throughout the quarter. However, upon further research, we realized that our initial concept was far too complicated for us to actually pursue during the first 10 weeks. So we scrapped it, and we pivoted to what are effectively underwater air tags. These would be dropped near UXO locations when they're found via autonomous vehicle, and would enable diver teams and other autonomous vehicles to come deal with it. This was our mission model canvas for that. This time around, we focused much more on breaking the problem down into smaller, more achievable segments.
So for our final and third MVP, we decided that these acoustic air tags would be a lot very redundant. The Navy already has to deal with all different types of data inputs. Having this as an extra data output is very redundant. So we wanted to pivot and help the Navy be able to speed up time for finding, revisiting UXOs, so we came up with a UXO data repository dashboard. To elaborate more on the UXO data repository dashboard, it unifies all the data, whether it's at NAVC, NAVWAR, NIWC, etc. It puts it all together in one place. Now that we have one big dashboard, we're able to draw analytics, have metrics, reports, etc. This speeds up time and lets us know what we're trying to find in a faster manner. And lastly, we thought it was really important for anyone to be able to use this software. Whether you're highly trained in the Navy EOD space or not, it's very intuitive. And in summary, our final goal is just to make a user-friendly dashboard that enables anyone using it to use pre-existing UXO data for analysis. And for our mission model canvas number 3, our biggest change is our proposition values. We shifted from the marine oceanography in order to be able to account for this, and now it appeals for anyone working with underwater infrastructure. We thought Alex Smith, his role changed to an oil rig engineer. People working with underwater infrastructure want to know where UXOs could be located, just not to spend money and labor in those areas.
Great, so here's a look at our project in action. Meet Alex Smith, an oil rig engineer. Alex supposed a team of divers in order to scope out an area he's been meaning to use to expand his oil rig infrastructure. However, they spotted UXO. This forces Alex to cancel all deployment, wasting time, money, and important resources.
Morgan Fox, our other beneficiary, gets the call from Alex Smith, and she lets her personnel know to log the UXO in her product. Then Alex Smith responds, says, hey, this was very costly in my labor and put the health of my workers at risk. Morgan Fox, in order to prevent this in the future, gave Alex Smith access to our product, our UXO dashboard, so Alex Smith can assess places with less known UXO presence, so he can continue his underwater infrastructure and build his oil rigs. Now, what does Morgan Fox's workflow look like? For Morgan Fox, she has her Navy officers document that UXO that they just found. After the UXO is documented, the built-in analytics go ahead and run. They filter, they allow for filtering, they allow for the Navy officers to go ahead and focus what they want to tackle. Once we have an idea of what we're tackling, we can go ahead and get the necessary technologies to go ahead and remove said UXO based off size and other things out of our ocean.
Now, here's a look at how our project is beneficial to Alex and Morgan. So first we have our map we have here. If you click on any pinpoint, for example, San Diego Bay, a pop-up will appear to the right with a panel featuring user details, such as location, ordinance type, and connection method. So this would be useful. For example, Alex, who wants to expand his own infrastructure, he can check any UXO and he can see their side code just by looking at the color-coded thread tags on the right. Now, next we have our database. So this offers a more bigger picture view of UXO across a bunch of different sites. And this is advantageous because it allows a method of comparison and quick scanning. So for Alex, who wants to see if a certain region is safe enough, he can look through this and see if he's able to deploy his operation safely. And finally, we have our Analytics tab. Here on the right, we have a filter by region feature. And on the left, we offer a more visual breakdown of different statistics, most notably being threat level distribution and also status distribution. So for Morgan, she can use this to spot patterns. She can use it to then be able to assess risk and finally make quicker judgment on the field.
Alright, so looking forward, we hope to focus on two key things. First, we want to collect UXO data from the Navy to populate our repository. We will then test which analytics best highlight risks. Next, we want to focus on field testing to better integrate our dashboard with Navy systems.
Before we close out, we'd like to give an extra special thanks to Rachel and the i4NS teaching team, as well as Jeffrey Elliott and Colonel Elliot Schroeder for your continued support throughout the quarter, as well as to everyone who we interviewed. Thank you. Without your generous time and insight, we couldn't have done it without you. Thank you.
Thank you all. Does anyone have any questions for this team? Okay, thank you guys so much. Next up is going to be Team Safer.
We at Team Safer, our project addresses a critical challenge in modern defense, assuring the safety and reliability of machine learning models in mission-critical applications. My name is Aiden, and I'm studying physics.
I'm Aries, studying political science, data analytics, and cognitive science with a specialization in machine learning and neural computation.
And my name is Luis, studying data science.
I'm Guyana, studying math and computer science.
I'm Turkey, studying data science.
We started with a foundational question. How do we assess the safety and assurance of frequently updated image classifiers for mission-critical applications? The challenge lies in guaranteeing reliability in dynamic, high-stakes environments.
Our focus is specifically on image classifiers, systems that distinguish targets such as a military versus a civilian ship.
To narrow this problem, we conducted 60 interviews with ML engineers and system operators. The key insight was a critical lack of communication regarding the model's optimal operating environment, where it performs best.
This gap leads directly to two mission-critical failure modes, over-reliance and over-trust. Our solution, Saferware, bridges this assurance gap as we aim to provide three things that make our beneficiaries' lives easier. First, clear certification for the engineer, reducing their rework. Second, split-second clarity for the operator, ensuring they know exactly when the model is safe to use. And third, verifiable assurance that ultimately maintains mission success.
Special thanks to the Naval Information Warfare Center Pacific, our dedicated teaching staff, and our expert mentors. It is through all their effort that this was possible.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Aiden Lopez, and I'm very proud to be here as part of Team Safer. It's been a wonderful quarter, and over the past 10 weeks, we have had the privilege to work on the problem of assuring the safety and reliability of image classifiers in mission-critical applications. So I want to do a quick highlight of our lovely teaching staff, our mentor, Oscar, and our problem sponsor, Douglas Lang. I just said my name is Aiden Lopez, but he was my team.
I'm Gahan, I'm Ryan.
I'm Turki Rashid.
My name is Ismail.
And I'm Arish Cole. So initially, our biggest problem is who is our problem statement targeting. So we came up with two beneficiaries, Michaela, a machine learning engineer, who is really concerned with making dependable and consistent image classifiers for the Navy, and Mike, a special warfare combat crewman, or SWIC. And Mike's concerns are making sure that he can complete his mission reliably and safely. So what is our software going to provide for them? So for Michaela, she's really going to work on the strengths and weaknesses of the algorithm, assess that, and make a better model at the end. And Mike is just going to make sure that whatever environment he's in, he can use the model and he'll know whether he's safe and how he's going to perform his duties. So this is our initial mission model canvas. The first thing we really wanted to do is learn more about the issues, learn more about machine learning, and conduct our initial interviews. So those were the real focuses in week 1.
And halfway through our journey, we really honed in on who our beneficiaries were, as well as we started to lay the conceptual groundwork to what would later become our minimum viable product and assurance software. And now our current MMC revolves mostly around improving our data sets that we use to actually train the models and use our software on. Other than that, it's identifying limitations and where our model can be improved.
So here's our MVP. It's called SaferWare. It's a military-grade machine learning model evaluation system. So basically our goal was to bridge the gap between our two beneficiaries, our machine learning engineer and the operator. So assuming that there's a machine learning model that's deployed into the field, a few weeks or a few months later, Michaela, our engineer, has a bunch more real-time data to work with. So she puts that into our software, SaferWare, and we run metrics that you'll see, like accuracy, precision, recall, and we output an assurance statement to the operator so he knows exactly when and which scenarios the machine learning model is performing well or worse.
So these first few pages are mainly for the machine learning engineer. This first page, the machine learning engineer inputs their model. Our use case, we're using CNN, and we also have the class mapping. The machine learning models outputs numerical labels like 0, 1, and so on, and we need to know what 0 refers to and what 1 refers to. So this is something the machine learning engineer needs to input. And the second page, we have uploading the data. So we need the in-distribution test data, and we also want out-of-distribution data sets. And for our use case, we have ships on fire and rain conditions, and also fog.
So going into those data sets you talked about, we're essentially trying to, we have two different sets of data that we're trying to measure the performance of. So we have our in-distribution data, which is essentially within the same distribution as the testing data. It's something that the machine learning model has definitely been trained on before. It's seen it before. It's like a regular sunny day. Our out-of-distribution data is different images, like it measures more like real-time, different scenarios that could be going on, something less out of the ordinary. The machine learning model probably hasn't been tested on this. So during the majority of our quarter, we were having a really hard time getting access to data. So we used a basic cat versus dog image classifier to build our software. We have our in-distribution, which is regular pictures of cats, and then we have our out-of-distribution, which is cartoons. Now we've upgraded to a military versus civilian ship classification model. Our out-of-distribution is different data sets like ships on fire, foggy conditions, and rainy weather.
So this is the third page, which is the advanced configurations. Let me talk about the adversarial attack strength. So this is an algorithm we designed that adds random noise to images. You can see how the model performs, and that will tell us about the robustness of the model. And there's a scale. The higher strength, the more noise. For example, in this image, we have a civilian ship, and after the noise, Now it became military, which is wrong. So that's an example of our own prediction, although the model performed well mostly. Then we have the mission profile. Depending on the context of the mission, the machine learning engineer or whoever is responsible might value false positives more than false negatives, and depending on what they value more, they would choose these three options. And this will be used to calculate the minimum baseline and the performance retention. The minimum baseline is basically the baseline performance with the in-distribution data set, and the performance retention is how well the out-of-distribution data set's performance is relative to the in-distribution. And after starting the evaluation and running the backend, we have the dashboard. Here we have the first page. This is the overview. It shows the performance of the in-distribution data set, accuracy, precision, recall, response score. Same thing for the out-of-distribution data. And here you can see how worse the out-of-distribution performance got. This is the second page. It shows something called confusion matrices, which machine learning engineer would be familiar with. So it's the distribution of the true versus predicted, and we also have here the errors depending on the condition. Then here we have a bunch of visuals, and it compares all metrics across all conditions. We have key insights here. There is more visualizations, but this is just an example, one of them. Then we have the assurance statement. For each metric and condition, it would show whether it's failed, passed, or had a warning.
And of course, in the actual world, the actual operators won't have forever to recover those metrics. That's why we developed a stop traffic light system where we have three colors, green, red, and yellow, so that from one glance, the operators were able to see which condition is clear, which condition needs more work, and which condition is not clear. And we got this idea from interviewing operators. Next week operators. And the deployment diagram starts with the operator who inputs the use the model or not to our software, and the software generates different metrics, and there will be a feedback loop going back and forth, and we'll go back to the operator for last feedback. And there are three ways we can deploy this. First, one way is we directly hand over the code, and in that case, there will be no sensitive information leaked, and the downside is there will be less software expertise. And here's a field incorporation where we're going to the Navy to implement this, but of course there will be more sensitive information leaked. And the hybrid approach is selectively the Navy can select which one they want us to go and implement. And thank you very much.
All right, any questions for this team?
So the team did not explain what's going on, so maybe we talked about this during the class. What's going on with the SWIC operator, right? Why it needs to be super simple. Maybe you can explain that.
Yeah, the SWIC operator needs to be able to make a split second. So standard conditions is their standard condition. That's gonna be green. What they're looking at right here is, let's say it's raining. They're gonna look at raining weather. They're gonna see it's yellow. They're gonna say we can trust this model somewhat, but it's not fully to trust. So be a little more aware. Aiden, do you want to add on?
So when someone needs to make a really split-second decision, they want to know right away, is it okay to use this model? Is it not okay to use this model? That's why we employ the stoplight mechanism. Red light, it's not good for this environment. You're advised not to use it. Green light, it's a green light, you're good to go.
I had a question for you guys. Did any of you ask Doug if he's got an opening for an intern this summer to integration?
No, but hopefully.
He's ready to right here, so not yet.
I have an opening.
Go ahead, Katie.
No, I have an opening for an internship.
So you're gonna make it quick because aerospace corporations after him already.
All right, any other questions? About this?
Hello everyone, we're Team Patchwork and we're working with UCSD's Innovating for National Security program to tackle one of the most critical challenges in national security today. Air-gapped systems are the backbone of our nation's most sensitive infrastructure. But here's the problem. Their complete isolation from networks makes software updates incredibly difficult and time-consuming. Hi, I'm Isabella Moore and part of my role is completing our team progress tracker and maintaining the team's interview log.
Hi, I'm Justine Lay and I'm the team researcher and I'm tasked with managing our weekly slides.
Hi, I'm Cameron McGall, and I'm in charge of maintaining team coordination and doing outreach. Now that you've met our team, you may be wondering, what even is an air gap? Well, don't worry, we were once in your shoes as well. Let's walk through it together. Air gapping is a security measure that involves physically isolating a computer or network and preventing it from making connections to other network devices. Air gaps help protect critical systems or data from potential attacks like malware or ransomware. In cloud systems, patches are automatically deployed to many connected devices at a time. This means they receive new updates very quickly and often. However, due to the structure and security of an air gap, this isn't the case. Currently, when a high-security environment needs patching, the patch code is often provided by an outside contractor. This update then goes through an extensive series of approval processes.
Once approved, the update gets uploaded to a physical device and physically transported by trusted personnel to the actual air gap operating system. As you can imagine, the process of approving these patches, updating, and deploying them can take a very long time. The idea for the patch starts in the development lab, where it then goes to the production lab for evaluation and approval, and after a few interactions between the dev and prod lab, it gets deployed into the air gap system. This is a very iterative process between the dev and prod lab. Our goal is to reduce the number of iterations.
Thank you for listening to Team Patchwork's journey. It couldn't have been possible without the help from all of our interviewees, mentors, and the i4NS teaching team. Thank you.
All right, hello everyone. We are Team Patchwork. Thank you for sticking around. Hello everyone. We are Team Patchwork. In this quarter, we were working with analyzing vulnerabilities in air gap systems. And throughout 44 interviews, throughout the program, what we have been able to do is come up with more solutions to these problems. But before we get into the solution, we would like to introduce our team.
Hi, I'm Justine Lay, and I'm a computer science major. Hi, my name is Cameron McGall. I'm a computer engineering major.
And hi, my name is Isabella Moore. I'm a political science and economics major. In addition to our team here, we also have great help from our team mentor, Jim Harvey, our prom sponsor, Dr. Domagani, and as everyone said, our wonderful TA, Giselle.
So, bottom line up front, our problem looks at air gap systems, which are essential to protecting national security data and critical infrastructure. However, that same isolation makes even simple software maintenance extremely difficult. Every patch requires a slow, manual, highly controlled process. Our goal is to simplify patch management for these systems without compromising security, hence the name Patchwork. Our goal is to automate the approval workflow for these new software patches, ensuring that these systems stay secure and up to date. This is just a general overview of our final solution. Now let's walk through how we actually got here. So this is a timeline of our 10-week process, and in week 1, we start off with our initial mission model canvas. And the biggest obstacle we faced was just understanding what an air gap system was and how national security data is affected by the security risk posed by air gap systems. And so once we fully understood what problems air gap systems face, in week 2, we were able to come up with our first MVP called the Sandbox Analysis and Report Tool, which essentially automates the testing and identifying the vulnerabilities within air gap systems.
However, we soon realized that a tool like this already exists in the format of a program called JFrog, which identifies common vulnerabilities and exposures, or CVEs, in the new patch code.
So with that very disappointing realization, we then moved to week 5, where we were able to assess something a little bit more in depth, and we changed our value propositions to focusing on the deployment rather than the approval process. So we had our value propositions changing as well as our beneficiaries. Leah and Ron are very essential to the process even now, even though we're not working on deployment anymore. But Leah works in the Information System Security Manager, and Ron is on the field as a field technician. And both of them are impacted by our tool from week 5, which was a patch deployment orchestrator tool. This was essentially automating the process of deploying the patch to the actual physical patch and deployment itself. And the issue with this was that the scope was far too large for us to be able to tackle, and we soon reverted back to what we originally had.
Yeah, so after reverting back to our original scope, we decided to add on to the already existing system that we had here. We implemented the JFrog reports that we mentioned earlier that we identified from our first MVP, and then we landed on our final MVP, which is the air gap vulnerability analysis. We'll get more into this later, but after refining our final MVP, this led us to our final mission model canvas, where we defined our key activities and also finalized the mission budget and cost that it would take to deploy a project such as this one.
So who does our product actually benefit? So in week 5, we came up with our 2 beneficiaries, Leah and Ron. Leah is an Information Systems and Security Manager who would be the one actually implementing our product, while Ron is someone who would be directly impacted once our MVP has been implemented. Both their iterative and repetitive tasks are significantly cut down once our MVP has been implemented.
And that brings us to our final MVP, which is an air gap vulnerability analysis software solution. This goes over the entire scope of our project, what we covered and what our current operations are, down to our MVP. Current operations, there are 3 main important parts, as you saw in the video, to the air gap system. The first 2 that are very essential are the development lab and the production lab. The development lab is where the code starts for this patch or any update that will be deployed, and once it's written, it then moves to the prod lab or the production lab, and there is where any approving process happens. We have determined to narrow our scope specifically to the dev lab and prod lab and implement our tool into the prod lab, narrowing right before the actual deployment into the air gap system.
Yeah, so getting more into our scope and the operational pain points between how the development lab and the production lab interact with each other. As we mentioned before, when an idea for a patch gets introduced, it gets written up in the development lab. This new code gets then sent to the production lab, where they test sort of in an air gap system makeup. This is where they run the code for any potential vulnerabilities or common vulnerabilities and exposures. If any vulnerabilities are found, they will write mitigation statements to combat those vulnerabilities. These mitigation statements are then sent back to the development lab to write new code based on those mitigation statements. This new code is then sent back to the production lab and then for approval, and then of course it's a whole back and forth system, and of course this can take a lot of time. So our big question was, how can we decrease the number of iterations here in order to increase efficiency and also maintain security?
So what our tool aims to do is to first analyze the vulnerable data, and then we do an in-depth analysis on this to find the issues. These issues are then visualized, and then we ranked based on highest mission impact. And then afterwards, we suggest some mitigations, and then these mitigations are put in a report and then sent to people like Leah.
Yeah, so based on our solution, this is the general backend that we developed for our solution. We'll start off here by importing any vulnerable data. So this would be the JFrog reports that I mentioned earlier, the patch diffs, and the patch manifest. Any vulnerable data that's currently looked at manually now is going to be all centralized and ready to analyze in a central location. Then we'll use this vulnerable data and perform a root cause analysis by looking at the patch diffs and tracing them back to the vulnerabilities that we identified earlier. By analyzing these different code changes, we can identify which patch actually contributed to the vulnerability, allowing us to have a greater picture of how that vulnerability got there in the first place. And then we'll use a machine learning model to determine the best course of action. By using a decision tree such as this one, we can identify which vulnerability or which areas in the code we actually have to implement or improve. And from there, the machine learning model will write up mitigation for the specific code.
We will then run risk analysis on those mitigation statements and prioritize by highest mission impact into the lowest level error. So for each implementation of a patch or an update, there needs to be a shutdown of the system. So basically prioritizing what needs to be done for this current shutdown, what can lead to the next. And then that leads us also to the current role of an information system security manager. This is where the human verification will come back in and make sure everything done by that model is in fact correct, and they're just verifying all these mitigation statements rather than writing them themselves. And that leads us to our final step, which is to generate a report. If there are still issues and mitigation statements that need to be rewritten back in the development lab, you will have a technical report, which shows the root cause analysis, and that will be sent back to the development lab for edits and then go through the whole process again, but hopefully cutting down on iterations as we're able to predict these mitigation statements before they happen. And the second report that's available is an executive summary. This is for someone in leadership who can go ahead and just accept the risk as is. So if they're choosing not to send back to the development lab and have their patch rewritten again, this would go ahead and say, we trust it, and send it to the board for review. And that's the overall scope of our project, but there are a few things that we're looking forward to in the future.
So in the future, we hope to go beyond just our current scope and expand to staker pools, as well as other systems other than air gas systems. We also hope to explore the idea of using a fully AI model to see if this is more effective and efficient than our current one, which means a mix between heuristics and AI. And lastly, we know that a lot of code is sourced externally, and so we hope that we can use our tool and apply it to like these external tools instead of just the code that is made in-house.
We want to thank everyone that we interviewed for their expertise, everyone that's present and not present. We also wanted to thank the i4NS team here at UCSD, the TP team. And then, of course, we also wanted to thank NIWC for helping us and allowing us to work on this project as well. Thank you.
All right, any questions for Patchwork?
So you guys got really good interviews. You had your list of all the names there. So how did you get so many people who work in this area inside here? Where did that come from?
As you can imagine, a lot of them were contacts from Rachel. It was an incredible help with that. And then from the program, we learned that for every interview you do, you ask, hey, can I have 2 more contacts that you think would also be helpful in reaching out? So a lot of it was word of mouth. Our problem sponsor, Dr. Dobogani, also referenced us to a lot of her colleagues. And also LinkedIn was amazing in just cold emailing people and getting a lot of different experts in different industries. We got a lot of academics who were really interested in our project as well. So it was really a great expansive network that we got to talk to.
Were you able to quantify how much time this might save?
We were not able to personally determine it for ourselves. However, we did speak to someone in the information system security manager role at NIWC, and he was ballparking around 50% iterations cutting down by reducing the mitigation statements, but we wouldn't like to stick to that number because we haven't been able to really assess if we can do that with our model specifically, but that was the goal, was to really cut down between iterations and save time that way.
Any other questions? All right.
So I guess I'm the person that's keeping you from either hopping on the train or get more drinks. So thank you so much for coming out. I look forward to seeing you next quarter and spring and have more fun here. Thank you.
Okay.